When a wandering sultan crossed a desolate desert plain, he found the landscape abruptly gave way to a massive lake. The water was swarming with unnaturally bright fish, divided perfectly into 4 distinct colors and swimming in tight, organized formations. Beside this impossible lake sat a palace. It looked entirely abandoned, but as the sultan stepped through the halls, he heard a sound that drew him deeper inside, the agonizing cries of a man in pain. Following those cries, the sultan found the young king of the Black Isles, trapped in an unholy state. From the waist up, he was a living, breathing, suffering human. From the waist down, his body transitioned into dark, heavy marble. The sultan viewed these impossible features as the deliberate traces of a crime. To him, the lake and the half-stone king were evidence, shifting his role from a wandering traveler into a focused investigator. The trapped king laid out the facts. He had inherited a prosperous capital city and married his cousin, but he soon made a horrifying discovery. His queen was a powerful enchantress. The conflict reached a breaking point when the king caught the queen with a secret lover. In a fit of rage, the king drew his sword and mortally wounded the man. This diagram shows the queen's magic. A stasis field tethered her failing lover to her power source, preventing his death. A secondary tether bound the king into static marble. Finally, the enchantment radiated outward, converting the capital's population into fish. The sultan saw that a direct confrontation would likely fail. He would have to dismantle the queen's magic using the same vindictive logic she used to create it. The sultan recognized the structural flaw in her defense. The queen's control was entirely anchored to her desperate devotion to her paralyzed lover. He waited for the right moment to sneak into the fortified garden palace, where the lover was kept in his magical coma. In the dim light of the bedchamber, the sultan silently executed the man, permanently severing the queen's magical stasis. He then threw the body down a nearby well. He lay down on the couch, pulled the heavy covers up over himself, and waited in the darkness for the enchantress to arrive. By taking the dead man's place, the sultan transformed himself into the queen's primary vulnerability. He had laid a lethal trap. After her daily torture of the king, the queen arrived at the bedchamber. She approached the couch in the dark, begging her lover to finally speak to her. The sultan mimicked the voice of the dead man, claiming that the constant cries and groans of the tortured marble king were keeping him from recovering. The queen reacted immediately. She abandoned her vindictive plans for the king, prioritizing her lover's comfort above all else. She grabbed a cup of water and spoke the incantation. The water spontaneously boiled as if over a fire. She threw it over the marble king, instantly restoring his human form. She ordered the king to flee, but he slipped into the shadows to watch the sultan's plan reach its conclusion. When the queen returned, the sultan escalated the deception. He told her he still couldn't rest because the midnight cries of the fish in the lake were echoing through his head. To appease him, she rushed to the lake and cast the final counterspell. The water receded, the fish became human citizens, and the lake became a metropolis. The queen's absolute control over the city had a single unprotected flaw. By exploiting her devotion, the sultan tricked the enchantress into dismantling her own work. The queen returned to the dark bedchamber, triumphant, believing she had finally cured her lover. The sultan lay perfectly still, coaxing the queen to step closer to the edge of the bed in the darkness. Without warning, the sultan sprang up. A silver blade flashed from beneath the silk sheets, ending the deception with a single lethal strike. This physical execution was possible only because the sultan first stripped away her magical leverage. He demonstrated that intellect can neutralize a much more powerful opponent. In the aftermath, the sultan and the young king reunited in the restored city. With the magic broken, they discovered their 2 kingdoms were now geographically aligned. The sultan ended the crisis with 2 acts of governance. Having no children of his own, he adopted the young king as his heir, and he rewarded the fisherman who first discovered the lake with enough wealth to last a lifetime. The resolution of this story highlights the value of patience and strategic cunning. The sultan achieved justice by understanding a tyrant's weakness and turning her own power against her.